Once upon a time, a poor miller was on his deathbed. He gathered his 3 sons to distribute his modest inheritance. He left the mill to the eldest son, his donkey to the second, and to the youngest son, Pascal, he left only his loyal cat. Pascal was very sad and said to himself, "My brothers will be fine with their inheritance, but I will have to eat this cat and make a pair of gloves from his fur, and then I will starve to death afterward." The cat heard his master's words and spoke to him in a steady voice. "Do not despair, my master. You will not eat me, nor will you starve. All I ask of you is to buy me a pair of boots and a small bag, and you will see wonders." Pascal didn't have a penny, but out of sheer astonishment and disbelief at what he had heard, he sold his only watch and bought the cat a pair of beautiful little boots and a leather bag. The cat put on the boots, hung the bag around his neck, and set off for the forest. There, he filled the bag with some grains of wheat, opened it, and placed it on the ground, then lay down beside it, pretending to be dead. It wasn't long before a curious rabbit approached, went inside the bag to eat the wheat. In the blink of an eye, the cat snapped the bag shut and caught the rabbit. He then hurried to the royal palace and requested an audience with the king. The cat entered the throne room, bowed in a majestic manner, and said, "Your Majesty, I present to you this gift from my master, the distinguished nobleman, the Marquis of Carabas, who sends you his warmest regards." The king was amazed by this rare and kind gift, and thanked the mysterious nobleman for his generosity. The cat repeated this trick several times, going to the forest to catch birds and rabbits and presenting them to the king in the name of his imagined master, the Marquis of Carabas. The king came to expect these gifts and wondered about this generous nobleman. One day the cat learned that the king would go for a stroll by the river with his beautiful daughter, the princess. The cat said to his master, Pascal, "Master, if you wish to become rich and fortunate, listen to me. Go and bathe in the river at the spot I will tell you." Pascal didn't understand the purpose, but he trusted his clever cat and went to the river to bathe. When he heard the sound of the king's carriage approaching, the cat shouted at the top of his lungs, "Help! Help! Drowning! My master, the Marquis of Carabas, is drowning!" The king heard the screams, looked out the window and saw the handsome young man drowning, according to the cat. He immediately ordered his guards to rescue him and pull him out of the water. The cat approached the king, crying bitterly, and said, "Thieves stole my master's clothes while he was in the water." The king immediately ordered the finest clothes from his own wardrobe to be brought and given to the handsome young man. Dressed in his new elegance, Pascal looked like a real prince. He was invited to ride in the king's carriage and sat next to the princess, who was impressed by his handsomeness and polite manners. The cat ran ahead of the carriage. He ran through the fields and ordered every farmer and worker he saw, "Listen carefully. When the king passes by and asks you who owns these vast lands and abundant crops, tell him, they belong to the Marquis of Carabas. Otherwise you will be chopped into pieces." Everyone was afraid of this mysterious cat in boots and obeyed his command. When the king passed and asked, "Who owns these vast fields?" the answer was always, "They belong to the Marquis of Carabas, Your Majesty." The king's admiration for this young man's wealth and nobility grew. Finally, the cat reached a huge, magnificent castle owned by the richest and fiercest ogre in the kingdom. The cat boldly entered and requested to meet the ogre. He said to the ogre, "I have heard that you can transform into any animal, like a lion or an elephant. Is that true?" The ogre replied boastfully, "Of course." And immediately he transformed into a huge, fearsome lion. The cat pretended to be afraid and told him he was amazing, then asked with feigned curiosity, "But can you transform into something very small, like a mouse? That would be a real miracle." The ogre said arrogantly, "That's trivial." In the blink of an eye, he turned into a small mouse running on the floor. The cat didn't wait long. He pounced on it and devoured it in an instant. When the king's carriage arrived at the castle gates, the cat ran to greet them, saying, "Welcome to the humble castle of my master, the Marquis of Carabas." Everyone entered the castle, which was more luxurious and grand than the king's own palace. The king was amazed by the young man's wealth, the princess was enchanted by his handsomeness and riches, and Pascal was no longer that poor boy, but seemed like the greatest nobleman on earth. The king said to Pascal, "My dear Marquis, I am very pleased with you, and I see you as the suitable suitor for my daughter. Will you accept her as your wife?" Pascal accepted the offer with great joy and married the princess in a legendary ceremony. Everyone lived in the castle in happiness and wealth. As for Puss in Boots, he became a famous noble in the royal court and only hunted mice for fun. The moral